When Don Knotts left the Andy Griffith Show in 1965, millions of fans were stunned. Barney Fife, the bumbling but beloved deputy, had become one of the most iconic characters in television history. And then, he was gone. But Don Knotts didn't disappear. In fact, what came next was a bold reinvention, a career gamble many thought would fail. Instead, it opened a whole new chapter in American comedy. After Mayberry, Don signed a 5-film deal with Universal Pictures. It was a sharp turn from small-town deputy to big-screen lead. But these were just any films. They were built for Don, showcasing his jittery charm and zany, family-friendly plots. Remember the Ghost and Mr. Chicken? That scream at the haunted organ? Classic Knotts. Released in 1966, it was his first solo lead and a surprise hit. Written with his signature persona in mind, it proved Don could carry a movie without Andy Griffith by his side. Then came The Reluctant Astronaut, The Shakiest Gun in the West, The Love God, and How to Frame a Fig. Each one capitalized on Don's anxious energy, but also let him stretch, experiment, and evolve. Critics were mixed, but audiences, especially families, they adored him. Don Knotts had become a box office draw in his own right. Mayberry hadn't defined him. It had launched him. Still, even with that movie success, Don knew television wasn't quite done with him yet. By the mid-1970s, Don Knotts had a new home, Walt Disney Studios. And just like that, a new generation of kids were laughing at the same man their parents once watched in Mayberry. His first big Disney hit, The Apple Dumpling Gang, starring alongside Tim Conway. The two made an unforgettable comic duo, Knotts, the nervous wreck, Conway, the clueless optimist. Together, they bumbled, blundered, and somehow saved the day, all without ever really knowing how. Audiences loved it. The movie was such a success, Disney brought them back for more. The Apple Dumpling Gang rides again, Gus Hot Lead and Cold Feet, and even Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo. These roles were a perfect fit. They let Don stay in his lane, the lovable underdog with a face full of panic and heart full of gold. For millions of kids in the late 70s, this was their first introduction to Don Knotts. Not as Barney Fife, but as the funny guy in the cowboy hat, or behind the wheel of a talking car. And while critics didn't always take those films seriously, Disney fans did. To them, Don Knotts was magic. Just when some thought Don Knotts might fade into reruns, he surprised everyone again. In 1979, Three's Company was already a hit, but it needed something more, a jolt of energy, a spark. Enter Mr. Furley. Don didn't just play the role, he transformed it. With wild outfits, twitchy suspicion, and that signature gulping awkwardness, Mr. Furley stole every scene he was in. He was nosy, he was clueless, and he was absolutely hilarious. What's remarkable is this. He wasn't just repeating Barney Fife. Mr. Furley had his own rhythm, a bit more eccentric, a little more flamboyant, totally unforgettable. And it worked. Don appeared in over 100 episodes of Three's Company, introducing himself to yet another generation of fans. In a world of cool guys and love triangles, Don was the goofy landlord who somehow became the soul of the show. He didn't need to be the lead, he never did. He just needed a few minutes of screen time, and the whole show tilted in his direction. After Three's Company, Don Knotts could have slowed down, but he didn't. Instead, he kept working, just in quieter ways. He popped up in guest roles on TV, Matlock, Step by Step, Diagnosis Murder, and each time audiences lit up. Why? Because he brought something familiar, but always fresh. Then came one of the biggest surprises of his later years. He became a voice actor. In 1998, Don lent his voice to the animated chicken film Chicken Little, playing Mayor Turkey Lurkey. The same nervous charm, the same shaky delivery, only now he was a cartoon bird, and it still worked. His voice had become iconic on its own, a sound you could recognize in seconds and instantly trust to make you smile. Even in his 70s, Don was still showing up, still stealing scenes, still reminding the world, comedy isn't about age, it's about timing. And Don Knotts never lost his. In his later years, Don Knotts stepped back from the spotlight, but his impact never faded. He spent time with family, made a few quiet appearances, and stayed close friends with Andy Griffith to the very end. Their bond, built in Mayberry, lasted a lifetime. In 2006, Don passed away at the age of 81. It was the end of an era, but not the end of his laughter. His characters still play on TV every day. Barney Fife's awkward whistle, Mr. Furley's wide-eyed confusion, Mayor Turkey Lurkey's nervous squawk. They're all still with us. Don Knotts gave the world a special kind of comedy, honest, humble, and human. He didn't play heroes. He played people who tried their best and usually tripped over their own shoelaces in the process. And that's why we loved him. He made us laugh without ever trying too hard. He made awkward feel okay. And most of all, he reminded us that being yourself, even if you're nervous, clumsy, or a little weird, is more than enough.